What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode number 326 of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends. If you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback or ebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. Today's episode, number 326 of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast, is entitled Tighten Your Helmet Cord. And this comes from a Japanese proverb which says in English, after victory, tighten your helmet cord. And I can't pronounce it in Japanese, so I won't even try. But if you want to see it, you can type that in and Google it and you'll get the Japanese words. It was often linked to samurai warriors, and it's about tightening the cord, the strap on your helmet, so it would stay on and protect you. They realized that it could come loose during battle with all of the actions that you do during a battle. And what they're saying is, after the victory, tighten it. So what does this mean? This means don't get complacent after a win. It's time to tighten your helmet. Complacency is a head thing, right? We get lazy because we think we've won the battle already. And there's an idiom that says complacency kills. And Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 32 says, the complacency of fools will destroy them. So don't be a fool. And again, we're going through this as thoughts in recovery and thoughts when we feel we've gotten clean and sober. So after the victory, tighten your helmet. After you think you're already clean and sober, you've got it figured out, it's time to tighten your helmet. First point, don't get complacent about it. The second point, why would you tighten your helmet, or what does it mean to tighten your helmet, is to stay alert, be vigilant. I want to ask you, where would the surprise attacks come from in your recovery? What changes are coming your way that could be a surprise to you? How do you stay ahead of the competition? What people would start be competing for? The favor that you might find in recovery? Or how about a dealer with the loss of business? And 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8 says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. So stay alert. And I want you to think about with that, as you're tightening the cord of your helmet, I want you to think about who's prowling around like a lion to devour you, to just eat you up in your recovery and get you back to using again. The third aspect I'd like to talk about is to stay disciplined. And that means in our recovery, we've established a discipline, a new lifestyle. And we can't abandon the routine that brought us the victory. And we have to remain humble. That's a huge part of being disciplined. And there's an anonymous quote that says, the strain of discipline is lighter than the agony of regret. So tighten your helmet. Put up with the strain of the discipline that you're in now, wherever you are. The strain of carrying that discipline forward after you're back into your family or back into community again, because it's much lighter than the agony of regret. The next point is be prepared for new challenges. That's why the Japanese proverb says, tighten your helmet. You need to be prepared for new challenges. These new challenges require perseverance, maybe a new work ethic, maybe a whole new level of faith. I'd like to ask you, what challenging situations should you begin preparing for? And are you ready to prepare for them now? There's another anonymous quote that says, "The struggle you're in today is developing the strength you need for tomorrow." So I think it ties in with the last one about persevering and realizing that the strain of discipline, the struggle that you're in today is actually developing the strength you need for tomorrow to go forward with your helmet cord tightened and be stronger in recovery. And that carries me into my next point. I think another aspect that would fit tightening your helmet cord is to continue personal growth, to get stronger by continuing to grow. Look at your weaknesses and your strength and develop your weaknesses into strengths so they're not liabilities. And Maya Angelou once was quoted as saying, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." You got that? That's a great one. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. What a great quote to have us just looking at this growth as a continual improvement exercise that we can all get involved in. The next aspect I'd like to point out is don't celebrate too early, because success isn't the end. That's why the Japanese proverb says, don't be celebrating. Don't be taking off your helmets and throwing them up in the air and cheering like you see people maybe throw their hats and caps after a victory. They're saying, no, tighten the cord. Don't celebrate too early, because success isn't the end. Success is winning one battle, not the war. It's that sort of don't count your chickens before they're hatched. So just because you've established a few months clean, just because you've finished a program, doesn't mean the war is over. It means you've won a major battle. Feel good about that, but don't celebrate too early. And the Japanese proverb, the way they had it in the book, The Seven Samurai, said, when you think you're safe is precisely when you're the most vulnerable. Let me repeat that. When you think you're safe is precisely when you're most vulnerable. So this really is speaking to that. Don't celebrate too early. We celebrate because we think the victory's won and we're safe now. The enemy can't get us anymore. But this proverb is actually saying when we think we're safe, we're most vulnerable of all times. And that's because we could get complacent. We could let our guard down. We could think we don't have anything more to learn. And the final point I'd like to bring out is there are new dangers that can always emerge. So we need to keep our helmet cord tight, because we don't know what these new dangers that are coming could be. Alexander Pope gave us a good starting point where he said, and I quote, "A little learning is a dangerous thing." And all of us, as we establish our recovery, learn some stuff and we think we're equipped now. But we have to remember that a little learning is a dangerous thing. So we have to keep learning, keep digging deeper, leave no stone unturned, because hidden dangers could be underneath each and every stone that we don't lift up and look underneath. What things are the hidden dangers that you can deal with right now? Stay ready for what is next. In closing, it's time now to tighten your helmet cord. And in summary, the way to do it is avoid complacency. Stay alert. Stay disciplined. Prepare for new challenges. Continue personal growth. Don't celebrate too early. And leave no stone unturned. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A2D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If you were saying that's me as you listened, then it's time now to reach out and join a group. You can message me on the link in this podcast or by email at david from A2D at gmail.com, or you can go to my website, www.froma2d.org, and click on the contact page. Keep listening to future podcast episodes, and as always, stay safe and stay resilient.